Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how you can enter a snare solo into PolyNome. You'll learn lots of tips and tricks along the way, and you'll end up with something like this. We have a PDF score at the top and you can view that. So this is the actual solo that we will be entering. And I'll show you how to quickly set up the structure for this and enter the rhythms and stickings. And you'll see keyboard shortcuts that you can use if you're on an iPad with a keyboard or on a Mac. And you can play through this entire playlist. You can see that I've entered the notation for all of these. So later in the video, I'll be going through entering the notation for each of these bars. If you get the idea, you can skip ahead. There's markers in the video description, so you can skip ahead to the tips at the end about setting volumes and things like that. So let's get started. To begin with, we are going to bring up in split view the thing that we're going to enter. So I have this loaded up in Safari. So it's American Drummer solo number 22. And I've put bar numbers in. We've got a lead-in bar here, but I have bar numbers just to help with things. And in split view mode, we can either view, if the iPad is big enough, you can view both sides, the library and the sequencer, or you can use this to view a larger sequencer or a larger library. Now we're going to enter this in a playlist, and each item in the playlist will be one of the bars. So we'll go to playlist, create a new one, and I'll call it solo number 22. So we have our playlist. We're going to tap on the pencil to edit and tap on the plus and enter a bar. I'll do the lead in last, so we'll do bar 1 first, and the time signature is 2/4, so I will choose 2/4 here, and I'm going to actually call it bar 1. And this has name plus time signature on, and it's going to call it bar 1, 2/4. I'm going to tap this so that it says off, and we'll just call it bar 1. So once we have this bar, we can edit the contents of it. So I'm going to exit edit mode here, either with the X or by tapping done. And I can tap on it to show it in the sequencer. And I'm going to enter this rhythm here. So to change a sequencer, you tap on the sequencer menu, and you can actually tap anywhere between the time signature and this mute button. Anywhere in here will bring up that menu. And we'll edit the pattern. And I simply want to enter this pattern, which is a group of 2/8 notes, another group of 2/8 notes, and then we'll enter the sticking and the accents and the flamps. So I'll delete what's in here and enter 2 groups of 8 notes. Now on the left here, you'll see, we can see divisions of a half note or of a whole note or of an 8th note or a 16th note. And if you're using an iPad with a Bluetooth keyboard or a Mac, you can use shortcut keys. So H is half note, Q is quarter note, E is 8th note, S is 16th note. So I'm going to go Q for quarter note. And then this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So if I hit 0, we get a rest. I can do backspace to delete that. This is happening up here. If I hit 2, we get a group of 2/8 notes. If I hit 3, we get a group of 3 8th note triplets, etc. So it's quick to enter rhythms that way, and I will be doing that in some of this demo. So now we want to add the stickings underneath. So you tap below the lines, and the default sounds here, hi-hat and snare, are probably not good for drumline. So I can tap on this menu button and choose change button sounds. And there's actually a preset of pads. I'm going to use that for this. So it will play this back on practice pad sounds. You'll see if I tap this, it will assign sounds to all of the buttons. So pad 1 for kick and right, 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 and pad 2 for the left hand and the hi-hat. So any right hand strokes will have one pad sound and left hand strokes will have another pad sound. So you can kind of hear the stickings. So that's what I'm going to use, but you could choose your own sounds by tapping on a button and choosing a sound from the options on the left. So I'll enter this sticking, right, right, left, left. And again, if you have a keyboard, you can use Shift R for the capital R, Control R or Alt R. Yes, Control R gives you this one, and just R gives you the lowercase. So right, right, left, left. And then we want to put an accent above this first note. So you tap above the notes, we'll put an accent. And if you want one of these other accents, you just tap again to cycle through them. So we want the regular accent here. And then we want a flam on this note. So you can either tap above the note you want, or you can use the arrows to move backwards and forwards. And then you can tap on this button to choose a flam or a drag or a rough. So the keyboard shortcuts for these are F will cycle through these options. And I think the slash key will cycle through the roll options. T will give you a tie. And A will cycle through the accents. In fact, A just toggles the regular accent. So if you want the other accents, you actually need to tap on this button to cycle through them. So there we have this bar, 2 rights, 2 lefts, an accent on the first note, and we need a flam on that note, so I'll hit F to give us the flam, and this bar is now done. So this is our bar 1 of music. Now there are 2 ways that I like to enter multiple items into a playlist, and if you were viewing this on a phone, for example, you would only see one of these panels. So let's say we're just viewing this sequencer panel and you want to add another item to this playlist. The easiest way to do it is to tap on the preset name up here and choose duplicate, call it bar 2, and save to playlist. So you have 2 options here. Save to presets will save it as a standalone preset in the presets library. Save to playlist will save it into your playlist and it won't go into the presets library. So if I do save to playlist here, and then we tap the sidebar again, you can see it's added bar 2, which is a copy of bar 1, and it's added it to the playlist. So you can in fact create an entire playlist without ever needing to view the playlist page. And you can work your way through, edit the contents of this bar, and then duplicate, save as bar 3 to work on the next bar. But I'm going to do it a slightly different way to show you some more of the more hidden features in PolyNome. So I'm going to go over to the library page, the playlist, and I'm actually going to delete this bar. So we'll go into edit mode again with the pencil and delete that bar. I'm going to start from scratch here. There we go. So I'm going to tap on the plus. I'm going to create an empty bar of 2, 4. Again, I'll call it bar 1 and enter that bar. So we have our empty bar 1 here, and this time what I'm going to do is create the structure of this piece. So I want bar 1 through 17 in the playlist. So what we can do is tap on this button here, which is duplicate, and then we can choose duplicate item auto number. And this will add an incremented number to the end of each item in the playlist. So we want 16 copies to give us 17 bars. So now you can see we have bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down to 17. And then I'm going to add the lead-in bar at the beginning. So I'll hit plus and just say bar of 2, 4 we want. And I'll call it lead-in, or it could be intro or whatever you want to call it. Lead-in. Enter that. You'll notice that it puts it after bar 1. So we need to go into this select mode and drag it to the top. And while I'm in edit mode, I'm going to show you how to do the repeats. So we want to repeat bar 1 through 8. So I'll select those bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then in the actions at the bottom, this is a really good thing to know about. There's a lot of stuff in actions. So in here, I'm going to choose repeat selected, and that will add repeat markers around those bars. So you can see the repeat start, bar 8, repeat end. If you want to change the number of repeats when you're not in edit mode, just long press on this row and you can choose repeats here. You could choose something other than 2. So I'll go back into edit mode again and select mode. So this is the select mode toggle. Okay, and we now want to do the same with bar 9 through essentially the end of 17, and then I'll show you these alternate endings. So instead of selecting them all one at a time, I'm going to select bar 9, bar 17, and then in actions, you'll see there's an option for select all between. That selects them all, and then we can go to actions, repeat selected, and that puts the repeat markers around those final 8 bars. And finally, we want to put in a first time ending for bar 16 and a second time ending for bar 17. So I'm going to select bar 15 because when you insert things, they are inserted after whatever is selected. And then I'll choose plus, and in repeats, I'll choose alternate ending and choose alternate ending 1. You can have multiple alternate endings for the same bar. So we'll choose plus here. So you can see that this is now alternate ending 1, and we want to put alternate ending 2 just before bar 17. So I'll select bar 16, go to plus, repeats, alternate ending again, and this time second ending. So now what I want to do is just check that this structure is playing back correctly, because you might not want to program in the whole rhythm. You might just want a click that tells you which bar you're on. I'm going to set the tempo to 150, and we'll just follow this structure through and see if it does what we expect. Lead in, bar 1, bar 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then it should repeat back to bar 1, and it was 2 repeats, so now it should jump through to bar 9, and we want it to do this first time ending of playing bar 16. Okay, and then repeats bar 9, and this time we want it to skip 16 and play 17. And then it will go back to the lead-in. Okay, so the structure is correct. And now we just need to fill in the contents of all of these bars. So we'll go to the lead-in and edit. So for this one, we just want an 8th note on the last note. So I need rest and a rest and then an 8th note, and you can see here we filled a bar. That's correct. And we're going to put a right hand on this. Notice we're back to the hi-hat sound, so I'll show you how to change the sounds for the entire playlist in a moment. And we want this to be 2 slashes and a tie, so we'll tap above the note, put the tie and the 2 slashes. Hit done. Okay, so then it moves into the rest of the pattern. Now we want this to play back all on the pad sounds. So if I were to set the sounds for this item, so we'll go in here and edit the pattern again. If I were to set the sounds like I showed you before by tapping on this menu button and choosing change button sounds, and we'll set it to pads. This one will play on pads. But then the rest of these, if I were to go into bar 3 and look at the sounds in here, so change sounds, you'll see that these are back to the kick, hi-hat, ride, etc. So we want a way to set the sounds for the entire playlist to be the same. The way you do that is on the playlist page, which is here. You can see we're in the playlist. These are all of our items. If you tap on the playlist name, there are a number of options in here, one of which is change playlist sounds. So if I tap that, then I can choose pads here. So these are sets on the left. These are basically sounds for all of the items, all of the sound buttons. So if I tap pads, you'll see all of these change. And this is a check mark. That means that the sequencer 1 sounds are going to be overwritten for the whole playlist. So I'll hit done. And now all of these, if we were to go in and edit the pattern and look at the sound buttons, you can see they're all pads. So that's set the sounds for the entire playlist. So now I am going to go through and enter these rhythms and accents. and we'll put the rest of the solo in. So we're going to, what I'll do is hide this side to give us a bit more space on here. So we're in bar 1, I will edit the pattern and delete those 2 quarter notes. So we want groups of 8th notes. So if I hit the number 2 twice, that puts the 8th notes in. I'll go above the notes and press A for an accent, and then hit the right arrow twice, hit A again, and hit F to put the flam in. And then I can use down arrows to switch between the accent line, the rhythms, and the sounds. And for the sounds, I'm going to do Shift R, R, L, L. So that's entered bar 1, and then I hit done. And then to navigate to bar 2, when you're in a playlist, and you can tell you're in a playlist because the play once and the timer are red, and below the tempo you can see forward and backward buttons. So I can navigate through the playlist items, we're in bar 2 now, by tapping those. If you were to tap play once or the timer, you'll see it says playlist off, and now you can change the tempo of this, you can change the reps, and it will default to looping, and you're basically just playing this bar over and over and over, and you can use this to practice an individual bar at different tempos very easily. When you want to go back into the playlist, you just come back to the playlist page, select the item, and you'll see that it remembers the tempo, 120, and it's back to play once. So I'm going to navigate through the bars and enter the patterns. So we'll go bar 2, we'll tap to edit. So this time we want 2 groups of 16th notes. So I'll hit backspace twice and 4 twice to put in groups of 16th notes. And then I'll hit the left and up to go above the first note there. So we want an accent on that note and a flam, F for flam. And then on the third note we want a flam. And then on that first of the second group of 16ths we want a flam. And then the second note there we want an accent. So I'm just looking at this and quickly using the keyboard shortcuts to put in the same things that we see in the notation. And then I'll hit the down arrow to go to the sounds line, tap R, Shift R for capital R, Shift L, and then right, left for the second bar. So you can see how quickly we can get these entered. So bar 3, we'll go tap on the next button, we'll edit the pattern. Again, I'll hit the backspace a couple of times. So this time we have 2 16ths and an 8th. And the way to enter something like this is to tap on the 16ths to enter those, and then we want to edit this note group. So you can tap on the edit button and tap on note 3 to note 4 to remove it. So you'll see 2 16ths and an 8th beamed together. So you see we get the same rhythm twice, and another way to create that rhythm is to long press on the 16ths here, and that automatically brings up that edit window. So I can again remove that note there. Another option is to save this particular rhythm. So you can long press on this, choose save, and you'll see it appears in the save rhythms palette down here. So now if you wanted to enter that, you could just tap it, and that's a quicker way. So you could create the most common variations of groups of 16th notes and save them in the saved rhythms. Now, if you're on an iPhone, you wouldn't see that by default. Let me just exit out of this and go back into the edit page. So when you have a narrower screen, you don't see those saved rhythms, and you access them by tapping these 3 dots here. So you can jump to your saved rhythms here and then hit close, and it takes you back to this. So we were editing bar 3, which is here. I'm going to go ahead and put in right, left, right, left, right, left. So right, left, right, left. Tap above the note we want an accent on, and we want a flam on there as well. And then we want the same on this last note, accent, flam. And that's bar 3 done. So then we'll use the next to jump to bar 4, edit the pattern. So I can fly through this now. We can hit 2, 4 to get these 2 rhythms, use the up arrow, put F and A for the accent. We want F and A on the second note, and then for the letters right, left, right, left, right, left. Done. Next, bar 5, all 8th notes. Go and edit pattern. 2, 2. Put the accents. So accent and flam on the first one, accent and flam on that one, and right, right, left, left. And then the next one. So now we have some triplets here in bar 6. So edit the pattern. So this time we need 6 notes in the space of a quarter note. So I can hit 6. So it writes it as a sextuplet instead of 2 triplets, but it's the same thing. And then this one, we want another 6. So I'll long press it this time. So we can edit. Oh, that's not what I expected. That must be a bug with it being in the smaller screen. So this time we've got a triplet and then a 8th note. So I need to remove these last 2 beats. So PolyNome writes this as this is a dotted 8th note because these are 3 regular 8th notes, but this rhythm is the same as that rhythm. So I'll enter the stickings. So right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. And we just want an accent on that last note. Done. Okay, let's make that bigger again. So bar 7. Let's jump to bar 7, edit the pattern. So this time it's groups of 8th notes, so 2 and 2. Let's go above the first one. We'll put the accents and flams in first. So I'm going to hit F twice, which will hit this button twice to give us a drag, which is right there, and A to give us that accent. And then on the next note, it's also a drag and an accent. And then the next note is also a drag and an accent. And the final note is a drag and 2 slashes. So slash, slash, which gives you the 7-stroke roll. And then the stickings, right, left, right. Now then, this one is the drag is played with the left. We'll have to put in a right because that's where the main note starts. And it will all play on the right sound, in fact, but you'll get the idea. So hit done. And in fact, that has a tie on it as well. So we need to put a tie on that final note, which will tie through to the start of bar 8. So bar 8, we'll edit the pattern. And this time I can leave that first quarter note, and then we want an 8th note rest and an 8th note. So we can either go to the 8th notes here and put a rest and an 8th note, or while still on the quarter notes, you can long press and choose a rest and an 8th note like that. And we want to put a tie on that and 2 slashes, and then stickings is going to be right and right. So I won't go through the rest because everything that's in here we've already covered in those first 8 bars, but let's play through those first 8 bars. So I'll tap the sidebar thing so we can see both sides, and let's play through this. You'll notice that the tempo lock has been disabled, so I'm going to re-enable that so everything plays at the same tempo. Okay, so it's going back through. It's a little bit fast and the screen recorder isn't keeping up here. But that was playing through those first 8 bars twice. So the final thing I'm going to show you is how you can actually include the score here in PolyNome. So what I'm going to do is add in edit mode a section header and call it PDF score. And then I'm going to go into select mode and drag that to the top and then exit edit mode. Now I want to save this file. I don't know if Photos is available on this simulator, but let's try that. Save to Photos. And then for this PDF score up here, if you long press, you can attach file, go to photo library, and I can choose the photo. Or you could take a photo of something in a drum book. Now you'll see this has a little info button by it. And if you tap on this, you can view the file. Or if you load this item, you'll see a little drop down that you can tap on that to view the attachment. And now you can view the attachment within PolyNome. So you could play through this while viewing the attachment, or you could hide that and follow through the notation like this. So the final thing I'm going to show you is how you can change volumes of sounds or the metronome settings for the entire playlist. Because if you were to change the volumes or sounds for just this item, it would only apply to that item. So for example, you can toggle the mixer with this button below the play button right here. And you can also filter on just metronome faders right here. So you can see right now that the 1 fader is up for this, which means it'll play the quarter note, and the bar fader is down. And if I go to, for example, bar 3, it's this, the bar fader is up and the 1 fader is up. If I pull both of these down for bar 3 and then go to bar 4, they're up for bar 4. So when you change the volume levels for an item in a playlist, it only affects that one item. Now there are multiple ways to affect more items in a playlist, and I'll just do them very quickly. So the first one is mixer lock. And if you're in a playlist and you tap on a fader, you'll see there's a padlock in the top right. And if you tap that padlock, notice how this turns red and the background of the mixer turns red. And now any changes that I make to this fader are applied to the entire playlist. So if I wanted to mute the metronome for the entire playlist, I could pull that fader down, I could pull the bar fader down, and that's applying those changes to the whole playlist. So now I can disable mixer lock and return. Now any of these items that I load, the faders are down. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is by tapping on the section header. So a section header essentially is a kind of parent to all items below it until you hit another section header. We've only got one section header in this whole playlist, so when that section header is selected, changes you make in the mixer, you can see it's got that red background again, and you can see this little heads up display is saying in brackets section. So it's changing the volumes for the entire section. So that's a way you can turn up the bar fader and the quarter note for everything in that entire section. And you can also use the quick metronome settings by tapping on this and choosing triplets or 16th notes or 8th notes, and it will apply them to the whole playlist. One thing to note, if PolyNome isn't playing, like it isn't playing right now, if you hit triplet or 8th note or quarter note, it starts playback. And because we're in a playlist, it's going to automatically jump to the next item. So you won't be able to do multiple things in here. So if I say, for example, turn on 16th notes, it starts playing and we're already out of that first item. But you can see that the 16th note click is playing for all of these items. So if I wanted to change that and, for example, turn off the bar sound, select the section header, go in here, I can turn off the bar sound, That didn't start it playing, so that's okay. And then I can change it back to, for example, quarter note by tapping on the quarter note. So now we have just a quarter note click for this entire playlist. Now the same thing applies if you wanted to, for example, mute just the right hand. Here, instead of filtering on the metronome, we can filter on sequencer 1, and we can see there are faders for the left and the right hand. So if I pull the right hand down, we will only hear the left hand strokes. Okay, but the next item, that fader will be back up and we'll hear all the strokes. So if for some reason you wanted to mute the right hand in the entire playlist, you would tap on the fader, go into mix-a-lot mode and mute that fader. Or select the section header and mute that fader. So I'm going to push that back up, and then let me just disable mix-a-lot so I don't accidentally make changes I don't want. And that should be all that you need. There's a lot of tips in there to help speed up your workflow. I hope you found this useful. If you ever have questions, just send an email to support@polynome.net. And thank you for using PolyNome.